Okay, let's talk about cold calls for a second. I'm getting a lot of questions about cold calls. Are cold calls the right way to get web design clients? Do they work for you? I'm seeing people posting videos about cold calls. Lots of talk about cold calls right now, even to the point where I feel like it's just turning into this echo chamber where everybody's doing and saying all of the same stuff. And like, I've been trying to get leads for web design for like 20 years. I feel like I've tried just about everything, including this kind of popular approach to cold calling. And I don't like it. It doesn't feel right for me. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying that I don't like doing it. And if you don't like doing it either, then this new approach that I'm going to share with you right now might feel better for you and fit better with the way that you like to do business. And here's the reason why. So the traditional, or like the popular approach to cold calling that I'm seeing going on right now goes something like this. You go into Google Maps, you find a phone number to call for some kind of business that you feel like you could help with web design and digital marketing and everything. You call the number, somebody answers, and then you ask for the owner. Like, usually it falls apart right there in two ways. One way is it sort of sets the wrong feeling. Like if somebody called me and said, hey, can I speak to the owner? I would immediately think that maybe I'm in trouble for something. It's like, why do they need to talk to the owner? Like, that's such a strange way to start a phone call. And like, if you really wanted to talk to me, why couldn't you just Google my business for 2 seconds and learn my name and say, hey, can I talk to Lee? Right? Like, why not do that? But with these cold calling things, like, people don't take the time to do that. They just rip through a bunch of numbers, call as many people as they can, and hope that they actually get through to the owner. Okay, so be that as it may, right off the bat, it feels weird. Then if you do get in touch with the owner, then what happens is you say, hey, I'm being totally honest. This is a sales call. So you do this pattern interrupt thing. So it doesn't sound like the old school sales calls or whatever, where you're just reading from a script. You just try to tell people, hey, I've got an offer for you. Would you like to hear it? And then that buys you enough time to do like a 1-sentence, like performance-based pitch where you would say, I can send you 10 leads a month or you don't have to pay, or we can boost your leads by some percentage point or you get a refund, or just something like that. It's like a pitch that reduces the risk all the way down to basically zero. So it would be stupid to say, well, no, I don't want any more leads. And then that's presumably the reason why people want to work with you. But again, I don't like I feel like I'm interrupting people. I'm catching people at a time that's inconvenient for them. I feel like sort of anxiety making calls like that. Like, the whole thing doesn't work all that well. And even if somebody called and did it to me and like gave me this like great offer with some kind of like a super huge performance-based pitch like that, I would think to myself, this has got to be some kind of a scam or something. It's like what if I hire you, you don't get the leads for me that you said that you would, and then I try to get my refund, but now you're gone, and like I've just been scammed. Like, that's kind of what would run through my mind. And it's not that the pitch is bad, it's that I don't have your trust yet. Like, we don't know each other. There's no trust, there's no authority, there's no anything. And it makes it really hard for me to say yes to something like that. You know what I mean? Like, thump the thumb if you agree with that. So here's what I do that's different. I still like the idea of reaching out to people, but there's a 3-step process that I'll go through before doing all that. Like, there's some setup work that just makes it so much better. So like, as you call people, you're not only getting leads, but you're also building authority. And here's the 3 steps. The step number 1, and I talk about this all the time, is you got to pick a niche. If you don't have a niche, you can go to lead.blue/leads, find a niche. But once you have a niche, then the second step is you need to build something that's of value for people in that niche. And it doesn't have to be something that you already have. You could create it from scratch right now. It could be a blog. Like, so most of my clients tend to be in health and wellness and fitness and stuff like that. So what if you had a blog about health and wellness and fitness and you wanted to feature these doctors that you're now calling in your blog? Or maybe you had a podcast. You could start up a podcast. You could call it something like Well Played, game plans for a healthy lifestyle, something like that, right? Because it's play in the podcast, whatever, it's a play on words. Just like come up with a name for your blog or your podcast and then reach out to people and say, hey, could I talk to Dr. Smith? And we have this Well Played podcast we'd love to feature you in. Would you like to be one of our guests on the show? That's a much better pitch, in my opinion, than, hey, can I talk to the owner? Because, like, first of all, you learn the name of the business owner that you actually want to talk to so you can ask them by name, and you're giving them something up front of value to them. You're featuring them in a blog or a podcast that will build their authority, give them more visibility. They can say, as seen on the Well Played podcast. Like, that sort of a thing would be really cool. And even if you get to like some kind of a receptionist or something like that that's not the owner, I guarantee they're going to pass that message on. That's really cool. And now you've got the owner calling you, not you trying to reach out. They're like, hey, Lee, I wondered if I could follow up on that call about getting featured in your Well Played podcast. That's great, right? That's awesome. I would totally love that. So now you've got the people showing up for these interviews for your podcast. You've got a chance to get to know people, right? Like do the interview. Like it's not a scam. It's for real. You're building a podcast for health and wellness people. Now you're talking to this doctor and find out what they like. Find out about their personality. See if it would be a good fit working together. See if the solution that you have that you know how to help people with is actually a problem that they're dealing with and they want to, like, they need your help. Like all of that's great. And then on top of it all, you can as you're doing the interview and everything, you can say after the show, I'd love to be able to link people over to your website so people can find out more about your business. Can I get a link to your website? And then at that point, they might say, hey, you know what? I don't have a website, or our website's totally outdated, or something like that. And that gives you the opportunity to say, well, wouldn't right now be a good time to fix that because you're about to be featured on our podcast? And as people click through after listening to your episode, you don't want them to land on an old outdated site. Let me help you fix that. Or maybe they have a site and you look at it and say, hey, as we're driving traffic over to your site, I'm not seeing a call calendar or anything like that. Like, do you want me to help you put that on there? Or I'm not seeing you build an email list. Do you want to put an email opt on there? I can help you with all that stuff. Do a drip campaign, lead nurturing, mention SEO. You could all this stuff that you could be offering. You just tell people, like, if I was in your situation, here's the stuff I would do. Like, you're my dad or you're my mom or you're my brother or whatever, this is what I would do for you, right? Like, it's like, you're not selling, you're just telling, you're just serving people. And even if they don't, like, even if they, hey, you know what, our website's fine, we just want to be featured on the podcast. Well, now, as you're building the podcast and you're growing the audience, the future people that you call will want to be on your podcast even more because you've got a bigger audience, you're building more authority, you're building more trust. See what I mean? So like if you're not doing it that way and you're just doing the calls, then every single call is equally as hard as all the other calls. I mean, maybe you get better at talking or something like that, but you're not building authority, you're not building trust, you're not building a reputation in the space. You're not doing anything, you're just calling people all the time. Whereas if you do it this way, you're doing both at the same time. You're getting leads at a much higher rate, by the way. Like we generally see roughly a 10% conversion rate. Like you only have to usually call like 10 people at most to get one person to want to be featured on your show. That would be great. As opposed to calling 50 people and not getting through to anybody, and then also feeling bad for every single one of those 50 calls or whatever. It's like it's much more efficient. It feels better. You're offering value. You're building rapport and reciprocity and authority in your space. And then you can just tell people how you can help them. And the biggest thing of all is you're getting people to talk to you. That's the biggest thing. If you can just get people to talk to you, like I've always said to myself, if I can just get in front of more people, if I can just talk to more people, that's all I need to do. And if the best way to talk to people is offer them something that would be beneficial to them, even if they don't think they want to hire you for anything else. Because even if they don't, you're still building more authority by growing out the audience of your podcast or your blog or that thing that you just featured the client in. And then at that point, you've got the everything's made. It's like you just mention things that you can do for them. And then you sold a website, you sold SEO, you sold social media, you sold whatever it is. Like you have this ecosystem of stuff and they don't even have to do it all right now. They can just do some of it. And then next month, they're featured in the podcast, they're getting some more clicks, and then maybe they bump up to a higher level of your service offering. So you can grow with the client over time. But the point is, if you can just get people talking to you, then you can offer them stuff that will help them. And you've got trust, you've got authority. It's just so much better for me. I just love it. And I feel good. In fact, I almost feel like I have to tell people about it because I want them to be featured on the show and to get more visibility and to share the thoughts that they have with my audience. Like it just feels so much better that way than just calling people all the time with this kind of flashy, performance-based little offer. You know what I mean? It's like, see what you think. So anyway, once you get these people calling you, then the next step is, how do you convince people of the value of the website itself? There's a little bit of a shift that goes on between doing the free thing and then getting people to hire you to do more stuff. And a lot of people don't really care that much about their website right now. And so if you were to just jump in to say, hey, we'll build you a better website, they'd be like, yeah, we don't even want the website we already have. So you have to build some context around it. So check out this video right here, and I'll show you how to I'll show this. Looks like a 3-step process for kind of building that context and like helping people see the value of your work. So check that out, and I'll see you right there.